Hello, my dear listener. Welcome to Redoctoring. This is the podcast that gives you permission to be a different kind of doctor. Today, I'm joined with Dr. Queen. She is a neurosurgery MO. She is also the founder of a platform called Minority Doctors Forum. Today, we are going to have a conversation about her story in medicine and also what has helped motivate her to start this platform, along with other wellness initiatives that serves to shorten the gap within spaces in the medical space. How are you doing, Queen?
Hi, Diane. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being open to share as well. We have a lot to go through. You're a very busy lady.
I know, right? I know. I don't even why am I busy or the reason why I'm busy, number one, but anyways, I love what I do. So we'll talk about it just now, I suppose.
Tell us who exactly is Queen. Who are you behind the title? Who are you as you're going about your today? What makes you you?
Yeah, that's a very tricky question, eh? I don't know if you want me to take it back to like me growing up or what, but I think in short, how I would introduce myself is I am Dr. Queen Ramoraswi, which is a name that I think it's a household name that people have gotten used to knowing me as on TikTok. But otherwise, my name is Queen. Actually, it's my real name. People always ask me if it's my real name. It is my real name. And I am a mother of three beautiful children. I am a wife. I am a doctor. As you said, I'm a neurosurgery medical officer, which I love. And besides that, I have other identities that I've sort of incorporated into my life because I think for me, what's important was that I need to make sure that, I not only delve into just my career, but also other things that I can leverage into that would give me, purpose and excitement. So, as you said, I am the founder of the Minority Doctor Forum, um, which is a platform basically. It's a free mentorship platform in South Africa, and I suppose you'll find out more about it just in a moment. And then I am also a wellness advocate, also team builder, leader as well. I am a healthcare unionist, um, and I am an opera fanatic and also a soprano opera singer. I am, what else am I? I am a gender advocate as well. So I think besides everything that I've said, it sort of like speaks to my name, Queen. I do all of those things because I think I've sort of learned to love all aspects of my life, including the doctoring part, but not only that, but also the other things that I do on the side. I've come to actually find them defining my identity quite well, I think.
Mm. Your identity is your kingdom, and you are ruling over it
Exactly.
really well.
Yeah.
Have you always been this multifaceted? Because you sing, you advocate. Have you always been like that since you were a child?
I think growing up, I think if I have to look back, I grew up a shy child, ironically. And the older I've got, I think in high school, that's when I became like a bit more proactive. Because I was like involved in the SRC. I was the president of my school. I was outspoken. I sort of found my identity, and I think I fell in love with the art as well. And I was more of a people's person. My advocacy work, I think, began there. Me as someone who found that, what, my voice matters. And I think I'm someone who likes serving. And I think when I went into medical school, I sort of buried my head in the book and I took a bit of a, back seat um, throughout medical school until I think I completed medical school time because in medical school, I became a mother of two. So I think while I was studying, I also sort of became like what can I say, a mother, and I needed to spend time doing that and, just be in it before I actually, re-emerged again as someone who, likes being an advocate. And
So one of the things that you mentioned is how you became a mother in medical school. So let's talk a bit about your medical school journey. What intrigued you into becoming a doctor?
I think for me, the answer would always remain the same. I think my love for medicine began at a very young age. At the age of 6, actually, I became a patient myself, and I was admitted in a pediatric ward. And during that time, I had the privilege of meeting this particular doctor. I still don't know her name. I wish I knew her name. Maybe I would have like hit her up and say, you know what, you were such a positive role model for me to actually be the person that I am. But it was a doctor that I think at that time she was caring for that ward, maybe assigned to that ward during my stay. All I can remember, I can only remember her features, like how she looked. She was a blonde white lady, very petite. She had a white coat. And every morning she would come and she would say to me, the thing that fascinated me about her was the fact that she called me by my name, you know. And she would always say, Queenie, ukwabusuku kai. I mean, I'm Betty. So I grew up in Limpopo, and the hospital that I was at that time, I mean, I was young, didn't know much of English. So the fact that she made an effort to try and speak my language and I would sort of respond in my own mother tongue fascinated me a lot. I was like, wow, a doctor's this nice, like a doctor, you know. And the feeling that she made me feel at that time, I was like, you know what? Definitely, I want to be like you, ma'am. I don't know who you are, but I think I love what you do. And that is exactly when I think I made a decision that, you know what, I'm going to become a doctor. Post discharge, my mom told me, I mean, I don't remember, but she told me that I asked, I'm like, how do you actually become a doctor? And I think I became fascinated with becoming a doctor from there. And here I am. Here I am many, many years later. So I would really, really thank her for the impact that she had in my life. And I still do love and enjoy what I do. Yeah.
That's such a beautiful testimony, even to the fact that we as doctors, like, we're not only just treating disease, but we are managing and we're helping people. Like, your treatment can stay with someone for a lifetime, as it did with you. So now moving into further along in your medical career, um, when was it that you started noticing that there was a gap with regards to mentorship? I know that with your Minority Doctors Forum, one of the main pillars is mentorship. Was that something that was also part of your own story?
Yes. Yes. I think for me, I've always been someone that when I walk through life, I sort of I see myself as a case study. I mean, I don't know if that makes sense. And I'm one person that I sort of um, take in whatever space I'm in and then try and see, you know, how can we make this better type of a thing. And I think for me personally, remember, I had an interaction with this lady, but I've never known like a doctor personally, not a family friend or anyone that I could know, or anyone that could tell me, you know what, just go to a hospital, find a doctor, then maybe they can guide you, they can, you know, give you advice. I had to figure things out on my own. And I think for the most of my career, that has been what I did. And like through God's grace, I made it. I was able to sort of navigate that path for myself. However, as I walked along, I was like, you know, I think the fact that I have to figure things out to get to where I am speaks to the fact that I don't think I'm alone. There's a lot of us that actually don't have someone that would sort of guide you and be, you know, this is how you navigate this. Because I think we've all come to appreciate and understand that medicine is tough. And the toughness of it is not just in medical school, it carries through. Like from internship is hard. Community service is hard. You go getting to medical officer time is hard. You're trying to specialize is hard. You become a specialist is hard. So the fact that it's like a glass ceiling. There's always something next, and every single stage of my life where I found that I need to figure out this space. And I was like, you know what, there's been so many people that have walked this path before me. Why am I, scratching my head and being like, okay, am I doing the right thing? What is it that I should do? How do I set myself up for this? So I thought to myself, like, you know what? I've been blessed and privileged enough that I've sort of survived and sort of found my way. Small interactions that I had with others sort of shaped my path. But I think this is something that if there's something that I would want to leave, behind through my path or through my journey in medicine would be the fact that I think the next generation should not go through the same experiences like me or anyone else who's sort of navigating medicine without a mentor. So that's when I decided, you know what, let me just start this platform. I don't know how am I going to do this. I don't know what kind of impact is this going to have, but I think I need to create this thing. It is a need. There is a need for it. And I started the platform in 2024.
So, one of the things that I truly believe in life is that if we make something better for our past self, that is how we improve systems and things in this world. So, by you using yourself as a case study and creating this platform, I believe that the impact already says a lot because it's already something that your younger person would have appreciated. What has the reception been like? What do you find are the main people that come to access the mentorship and the information that you have with regards to your platform?
Mm. It's been a very interesting journey. When you start something from scratch, you never sort of envision the kind of impact that it's going to have or how, like, its utility basically in people's lives until you actually start. So I always sort of encourage people that if you think there is something that you can contribute or something that you can do, just start. Don't overthink it. Don't think, how is it going to work out? It normally just sorts itself out along the way. But I think the reception that in the beginning, I mean, when you start this platform, you start with one person, that you're trying to convince that we need this. And I think for me, when I started this, I needed to understand the fact that this is not something that I can carry out on my own. So, because I don't have all the expertise in terms of all the what medicine can offer or all the subspecialties, there's a lot that I personally don't know. And through all of this, I've also grown a lot in terms of my knowledge and my understanding of medicine in general by speaking to many different people. In the beginning, it was a matter of me, saying, I'm studying this thing. Do you mind coming onto my platform, and speaking about, I'm giving you an example, general surgery, like how do we prepare ourselves for a career in general surgery? So it took a lot of me knocking on different doors, meaning that I had to understand that when you knock, it's either someone would say, like, would open the door, or they would say, no, I'm not interested in that, depending on their priorities at that time or their capacity time wise. But I think what shocked me was the fact that people actually saw that, what, this is something that we want to be a part of. So it sort of became a huge movement where it's not just me, but you get super specialists that are like, no, we love the idea, would be keen to come onto your platform and speak about this. And then over time, as I said, to a point where you would get people from outside the country as well being like, wow, um, you know, can you advise us on this? I'm like, I only know about South Africa. I don't know much about anything outside of the vicinity of South Africa. But it's been very interesting because, when you use social media, the reach becomes so enormous. In the beginning, as you do it, you think of, all the judgment that you might get, you might actually get, or whether or not it's going to work out or whether or not you're going to get tired because while I'm doing this, I'm also working in 8 to 5. I'm doing calls, I'm doing all of these other things. I'm mothering, I'm being a wife beside, all of that. Would I have the capacity, to carry this thing through? But I think what I've sort of gained from it and also seeing how other people are actually gaining from it has sort of helped me keep up the momentum. Some days, of course, you don't have capacity because you're doing other things, but it has sort of helped me keep up the momentum. And the most important thing for me was to create that digital footprint to say that if there's a high school student like me who's doing grade 11, grade 12, they've seen cardiothoracic surgery somewhere on the internet, they're like, I like this. How about they can just from a click away, learn how do they actually get there? What are some of the challenges that they might encounter? How do they prepare themselves? How do they navigate different spaces? But also have a platform where should they need someone that could actually guide them on this path, whether or not they know them personally or they don't have that person in their close proximity, but they can reach out and we can, link them up, network them up so that at least they actually make it. Because we all have potential. Sometimes all we need is a little bit of a nudge, a little bit of help, a little bit of encouragement to get to where we want to be. Yeah. So it's been fantastic out there.
It's been amazing to watch you grow, actually, and even the conversations that you have on the platform. I personally also relate with the having to reach out to people, and some people are very keen and others will ignore you, and it's part of the game. And it's interesting. Why do you think there's such a big gap with regards to networking and mentorship in our space?
Yeah, I think to answer that question, essentially, when you go into medical school, we come from different backgrounds, different sort of advantages when it comes to the networks that we have accessible to us. And what I've come to realize is the fact that as much as we're not being told that similar to any other career, like if you want to go into science or wherever, you need to know someone that knows someone, to progress up or to learn something or to be afforded certain opportunities. But I think the fact that when you walk in there, you don't necessarily have the networks that you would have because most of us, I mean, I'm a first generation doctor in my family, which I think most of us are. So if you have an uncle or you have a mother or father who's a specialist, they know another specialist, someone somehow. So networking would never be necessarily an issue, and it's by no fault of anyone. You don't decide your background or where you start off or where you come from. But I think being intentional about trying to find those networks is very important. As I said, I started off as a very shy child, and I think I remained shy before until I finished my studies. I sort of recouped back into that identity of myself being a very shy person who's not, I'm not someone that would walk up to someone and say, "Oh my God, I look up to you. Do you mind, telling me about this?" I'm not that. I'm not that type of person. But I think also understanding that in this game or in medicine itself, it's very important that you need to know someone that knows someone in order for you to get somewhere. Because even a shadowing opportunity, it's not easy just to go to knock on someone's GP practice and be like, okay, can I shadow you? Because while you're there, it feels a bit more, what can I say, rigid. You don't really get what you want to get from there. You afraid to ask certain questions and whatnot. But I think as you walk through medical school, you will get seniors that you like, you will get seniors that you don't like. But when you get those ones that you like, make sure that you try and get as much as you can out of them. Those small conversations between patients that you would have with Regis that would sort of share like a snippet of what it's like to be a Reg in that department. They do sort of shape you. And I think if you're able to, you know, um, ask those small questions. Doesn't have to actually be formal. Mentorship doesn't actually need to be formal. I'm trying to formalize it, but it doesn't actually need to be formal. And the more you speak to other people, and when you identify someone that you can potentially gain from, don't be too scared to send them a message. Don't be too scared to ask them those questions, even if it's like a 30 minutes or 10-minute interaction with them. Ask them the questions that you want to ask them, and somewhere somehow, as I said, if you know someone that knows someone, you might be able to actually make your way up. You might be able to know other opportunities that exist outside of this clinical medicine, because most people, especially outside of clinical medicine, that are able to sort of leverage that path is because they met certain people. So you will never actually know something that you don't know. So the more you interact with other people and the more you sort of seek guidance, seek advice, you obviously are not going to speak to everyone, but throughout your interaction in medical school, as an intern in ComServe, just make sure that you identify people that you can actually learn a thing or two. Don't be scared to network because networking nowadays is I don't know, it's everything. Because even now with getting a reg post, you know that you sometimes need to walk into that department and say, "Hi, my name is Queen. I'm interested in your surgery. Can I come schedule? Can I come say hello?" That's how they
Mm,
hire. Even in government, that's how they hire nowadays. If they don't know you, they've never seen your face. Unfortunately, you're not going to get the post. So it tells you that, unfortunately, it means that for people like myself who are a bit reserved, you need to come out of your shell. And that is not an easy thing, but hence my platform exists. That if you're someone like me who doesn't have, the what can I say, the courage to walk onto someone and say, do you mind mentoring me? Even ask them about opportunities. You need to be intentional about your interaction with people. Ask them about opportunities, about do you know of someone? Because I'm telling you, South Africa is so small. The specialist pool is also so small. um, Someone knows someone somewhere that can actually, they can refer you to that person and say, you know what, oh, you're interested in nuclear medicine. Oh, I know this person. I used to go to medical school. Well, let me connect you with it. So I think intentionality is very important, but not only that. Hence, Minority Doctors Forum mentorship platform exists. But if you're someone who still struggles to network properly throughout your career, we are here. We can provide that opportunity for you to network and be in touch with the right people. Because most of us, what we need, I think, is a word of encouragement. We're all capable, guys. We're all capable of achieving anything in life. But if you don't have people that actually encourage you, people that actually believe in your potential, people that actually are willing, to invest in you and actually harness and nurture that potential, you never know how great you are until you meet the right mentor. So network, network, network if you can. If you can find a mentor, you will have 10 different mentors in your career, but at the end of the day, what you pick up from this one, take what you can. If you find another person, pick what you can, and then similarly so. And even after you qualify, you need to also be in a position to also help someone else navigate the path because it's a community game, unfortunately. Unfortunately, because I honestly do not believe in the thing of I need to make it alone. I need to be, the most, I don't know, like the first female black something. We past that. I feel we're way past that because at the end of the day, this is still a career. This is still a job. There's a time where you're going to have to retire at the age of 65. When you look back, what is it that you left behind? You being the person that you are, that represents a group of people that might not necessarily see themselves in those positions. What is it that you've sort of left for them to hold on to and to groom others as well to take similar spaces? So I think that as much as medicine is all about me, 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 but we need to sort of change our minds and our mindset.
mm. I like what you said when you mentioned that it's not about being the first black woman in a certain space or something like that. Like we're past that. We need to be looking behind us and seeing how many doors can we open for the people behind us, because that is what we need more in this day and age. We need a lot more representation. We need a lot more channels flowing with people. And yeah. So with that being said, I don't think networking is optional.
It is something that I think you need to be intentional, and I hope first years are listening. Like you need to be very intentional. Like when you get to medical school, you're gonna do a lot of things that you don't like. I mean, I had to do physics in my first year. We had to do what is it that chemistry in our first year. When you go to med school, you think, well, I'm just gonna go there, learn about the human body. You do a lot of things that you don't like. It's not everyone who wants to be an gynecologist. You might not like this block. You might like that block more, but the journey of being the beautiful thing about being in med school and spending so much time in med school is that through it all, you find your own identity. But it's unfortunate that not everyone leaves med school knowing what is it that they want to do. So for some of us, sometimes it even just goes through from internship ComServe, even as an MO, you're not sure, okay, should I become a DP or should I go and specialize? What kind of challenges am I going to encounter? Yes, there are challenges that you're going to encounter. And I think the more information is out there, because most of us, where we get the stumbling blocks is not knowing if I decide anesthesiology versus if I become a surgeon. Like, how's that journey going to be like? Am I going to live a fulfilled life? Am I going to be able to have a family and do all of that? But the more information is out there about each and every discipline, each and every path, each and every destiny, which is exactly what you're doing with your platform. Outside of medicine, what other pathways exist. The more you learn what's out there, then it gets rid of the shyness and fear of the unknown, that for some people it might make it a little bit easier to decide, what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to choose the conventional way, or I'm going to choose the conventional way, but also bearing in mind that there's so many stumbling blocks at the moment that the path is not always straightforward. Sometimes we might have to pivot in a different direction. At the end of the day, you're a case study, man. You are a case study yourself, and you'll figure things out as you go along. And as you go along, you'll find other opportunities that you did not necessarily know about. But all the things that you find out along the way, make sure that you come back and present your case back to us and say, you know what, if you want to come and join the corporate world, this is what happens, this is what happens. So that others don't necessarily have to go through the same thing that you literally went through, which is a beautiful thing. We make it as a community.
Yes, definitely. As long as we are collecting data along our journey
Yes.
and then we present
Collect the data and
whoever comes next.
present it back. Yeah, don't hold it. Like, share, come and share. You don't have to share while you're
Mm.
going through the journey, but I think at some point you'll feel like, you know what, this is what I've learned. This is what I think.
Mm. And I think one of the reasons why I love LinkedIn so much is that you see, LinkedIn is a professional platform. So you don't even have to say much without saying much. Like people put their whole career past there, and you're able to see the path that somebody took, and you're able to see, no, they had this job, LinkedIn helped them to get this role and whatnot. So it even helps with if you need to reach out to them, you can be like, yo, I see this in your career. How does this tie in with this? How does it go with this and that? And because it's on display there for you to study and for you to see and connect the dots with what could be common. Mm. So now going along with your passion for doctors, you are also involved in the wellness space. Tell me, why are doctors not
Hmm.
well?
Goodness, yo, Diane. Yo, I think we're all not well. I like the fact that you actually say it like it is. We're all not well in medicine. I think um it all boils down to the fact that if you have to go back and look at the history of medicine, and how it's been practiced, and how actually get to become a doctor. Because I think, if in my head, the way I break it up is the fact that in medicine there's books where you need to learn all the knowledge from textbook, but most of the learning is more interpersonal, where you need to learn from someone. And when I say someone, from either a patient, a senior, a junior, so the learning takes place through that space. The books are normally not an issue. Sitting down and learning about the physiology of the lung, it's not that difficult. What makes it tricky, where most of our mental health gets a knock, is this side of, the human interaction that takes place. Because there's so many levels of it. Number one, you learn about humans and patients, and it comes with a specific emotional burden and specific emotional maturity that's required of you to be able to hold patients in their last days of life, um, to be able to get over losing a patient, to get over, like your ability to be so immature. I mean, when we become doctors, that's literally our first job. I know we're a bit older, like 24, 25, but that's your first job and your responsibility. I think nothing prepares you for that because now you need to contain family. If they've lost if they've lost a loved one, you're the person that needs to counsel that family and explain to them what happened to their loved one, while you yourself cannot even process your own emotions towards this tragic incident. So we're overexposed to so many tragedies, but not only that, too much criticism as well, because the learning process itself, even you'll see how we're being examined in medical school. You need to present to someone that they would use their own objective opinion of you to decide whether or not you pass or you fail, or they like how you presented this, or they like how you've done certain things. So the level of performative mindset that we need to have from first year until we finish. When you finish med school, most people are not keen on jumping onto the next training opportunity because of the trauma of having to always be performative in the clinical space. And not only that, but it determines whether or not you make it in you pass your exams or you don't pass your exams. So most of the assessments is based on you being assessed, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but also remember that you deal with so many personalities there. So your examiners are not necessarily people that, what is the nice way of putting it? That would like a mother or like a parent would say to you, you should have done this way. You shouldn't have done it this way. Most of it is like, you're stupid. How can you do this? How did you even get this far? So you can imagine the level of the cortisol in our bodies when we're still in medical school, even when you're as an intern, because there's a logbook. In community service, you need to be signed off. So you always need to impress someone to move on to the next phase of your career. And that level of stress is not healthy. And most of us, when it's like continuously, like it's a continuous thing. Imagine if you're doing ComServe and you have this new uh, consultant that always comes at you for 12 months straight, you're stressed. So obviously your mental health is not going to be where it should be, because nowadays we all like you just become scared of making mistakes. And we take away from the fact that in medicine, we are humans, guys. We're not superhuman. We do make mistakes. Those are mistakes that you make may cost patients' lives, but that's how most people learn. I don't think anyone would go into medicine to intentionally harm others, because you have an oath, you have an ethical standard that you sort of hold on to. But the learning is so harsh when it comes to the making of mistakes side of things. We haven't found a way in which seniors are able to process what can I say, whatever is happening, but still constructively build juniors so that they don't become, what can I say, not so well up here. So we're not well. It makes sense that we're not well. And also, it doesn't stop, because as a medical officer, given the long hours that we work, physiologically, it's not normal for you to be working 36 hours and still be performing at 100%. It's not normal. Your body's not designed that way. Ironically, us understanding the human body and always advising patients, you need to rest, we do the opposite. We don't rest. We always yeah, we're trying to be human, but we're not in a space that allows us to be human. And we also don't think ourselves as human. And we also don't think of others as human, because even as what can I say, as a medical officer who's supervising interns, we don't extend the same grace to them. So you can actually understand like how ill medicine is. Um, and unfortunately, you don't have a lot of people, because medicine is very influential. If you do have seniors that have that mentality to understand that we also learned this way. So when we do come to our juniors, we need to, guide them, because M&M, you know how stressful are M&M? Mortality and morbidity
Mm.
meetings, where it's like a witch hunt, literally. you did your best, but it's like
Yeah.
if a patient died and maybe you gave a wrong dose because of this, because we're working for 36 hours, then it becomes a problem. I mean, to the general public, yes, it's unacceptable. But given the nature of how stressful medicine is, we have short staffing, we have so many resource, what can I say, limitations. It mistakes are bound to happen. And I think the minute we understand that and we try and find ways in which we don't become mean to each other because we are literally mean to each other. I mean, we mean to each other. Patients are mean to us. Sometimes some of them would assault you. Not all of them, but some. And then doctors were mean to each other as well. And then you get other, we don't exist alone. The hospital, it's not just doctors. You have other departments. We're mean to each other. So that's why we're not well. I don't think we're well, and I don't think we'll ever be well, but we need to own up to our disease. Like the first step to
Mm,
change is admitting that you have a problem, then you work through it. Most of the research that is being done is all about how do we improve treatment of diabetes, how do we improve that. There hasn't been a lot of work done on how do we fix doctors because that is a core that I represent and that is where I am now. So we don't actually think we have this problem. We know we have this problem because at the end of the day, we see how colleagues commit suicide. We see how colleagues become unwell that they need to take time out. And most of where's the stressor? Most of them, if you have to sit down with them and ask them, where is your stressor? Where's the trigger? The trigger is always in the hospital. And I can tell you almost
mm,
80% of the time, it's never the patient. The problem is never the patient. The problem is us towards each other or us towards whatever senior person in the line of duty in that place. But I think the more we start to diagnose this problem and try and find ways in which how do we try and make medicine less toxic so that we can become well, because a hospital is a place where people get well, but we go there, we become unwell. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I hope, like, that's just my hope that more work, more research, more MS would go into sort of transforming medicine because we've been talking about transformation for a long time. We've been talking about transformation for a long time. And, but in terms of what are we doing in terms of effecting that transformation, it's still work that we shy away from, understandably. It's still work that people are not interested in engaging in. But if you're unwell, there's no way you'll perform like 100% all the time. So yeah, that's why we're unwell, Diane. We are unwell. I don't know for how long, but I think as things stand now, we're unwell. And you see a lot of our colleagues, like the new generation of doctors, they on social media. They talk about this, but when they start talking about this, I don't think they speak from a free position where they can talk about their challenges freely. Because remember, you cannot go there and speak about all of this. Meanwhile, you know that that same person is the one that must sign you off for your block. That same person is the one that must promote you, is the one that is going to interview you for a medical officer post. So we don't talk about these things freely. We're scared to even talk about the challenges that we have in medicine. But I think the beautiful thing is that now social media is here. And I just hope more and more people would be comfortable, coming out of the shell and actually be finding solution of how do we transform medicine, not only for patients, but for ourselves and for the next generation. Because right now, as things stand, would you recommend and say to your child, go become a doctor? Nah,
mm,
nah, you wouldn't. You
mm,
wouldn't. You wouldn't. But I think as things goes, as time goes, hopefully we'll get to a place where we actually shine light on how do we actually transform medicine for the custodian of it, which is
mm. It's an interesting dilemma that we're in that I think roots back to our time as medical students. It's a very individualistic path that we're on. In medical school, there's competition to get in, there's competition to stay in. You view your colleagues as competitors. You get into internship. I was just talking to another friend of mine who's doing internship, and her small group, they're even having problems with teamwork. And I'm like, guys, if you guys don't understand that you're a team now, you're not going to understand it later. So then the whole individualistic thing carries on. And I can see how, among all the dynamics that we have between patients, between colleagues, between nurses, the one that we have between each other is the one that causes a lot of harm within our minds.
We're off. You either go hiking or you make time to go to the gym. Somewhere, somehow, in those few few days that you have, you need to work on your wellness. It's not part of the job itself. So I like to think of it this way, that
Mm.
wellness needs to be something that we talk about in the workplace itself, because in the workplace itself, that is where we spend most of our time. Not all of us have the time to actually invest in your own wellness, because life happens and there's a lot happening in the process. So what I do for my workplace is that I try as much as I can with the time that I have to have this wellness event for the whole hospital. Literally, we talk about all things wellness. And for me, wellness is not just about physical wellness or going to the gym and doing physically. Like, it's important to be fit, but there's also emotional wealth. If you know the 8 dimensions of wellness, there's spiritual health, there's financial health, there is social health, there is psychological health, there's intellectual health, there is environmental health. So environmental health means the space that you work in needs to be as healthy or as safe as possible for you to be able to perform at your optimum and be safe. And the environment itself speaks to the institutional culture that we need to constantly work on. It needs to be part of the agenda. Hospitals need to allocate funding towards such things. It should not only focus on the wellness of the community, but neglecting the workers themselves, if you know what I'm saying. So what I would normally do is I would hold this wellness events at my hospital where we talk about different topics. If we're talking about emotional wellness, of course, we're going to talk about any like grounding, mental health. How do you seek help? How do you sort of identify if you're not well? Where do you want to go? Because in every institution there is a occupational health and safety or wellness division. I don't know if you know. Every institution has that. But in terms of the work that it does, most of us, when you go into your workplace, when you go into induction, you're never told about that. You're only told about if you have a nail stick injury, this is where you need to go. Some people don't even know that your hospital has a psychologist paid by the government to be able to provide psychological care to healthcare workers in a public hospital. I mean, private, I think, is doing better when it comes to issues of wellness compared to the public sector. But I think when we do hold this event, it sort of highlights, the help that's there for people to access. Should you find that you're not well, we do health screening on the day. We would screen you for everything, because in those 4 days, where do I ever get time to actually go and see my GP on a Saturday or on a Sunday? Like, your health becomes, it's not prioritized. It's not a priority anymore, because you need to get your admin done. I need to sort out my kids. I need to make sure that my household is sorted. So you become less of a priority for yourself to be able to look after yourself. And our workplace itself needs to encourage that. Like, taking sick when you are working in a team, guys. Do you know how difficult it is to take sick? To just type in a message and say, guys,
Mm.
people have come to work while they are sick, and we've sort of normalized and we have accepted that as doctors, because even our seniors are not really protecting us. We have beautiful legislation in South Africa that protects healthcare workers, but when it comes to health, most of us, we exclude ourselves, that we are like a critical service provider. You cannot take sick if you know there's only going to be 2 or 3 of you, but we need to take care of ourselves. Like, wellness is not something that we can talk about in isolation from the working environment that we work in. So with the initiatives that I've sort of done, and when I do this, I don't do these things alone. I've worked with the team. I've sort of tried to bring people from different departments, physio, OT, when you come together and you do all these fun things together, there's games you can, you interact with one another. You're sort of trying to build a healthy working relationship. It's not every day. I'm not saying neglect your work. Like once every 2 months, once every 3 months. It does help to sort of, you know, um, feel well, like try and get well somewhere, somehow, and actually having an opportunity to see yourself as a human, not just a personnel number, which is what I think we've minimized our health to. We're just a personnel number, and that's very dangerous. As much as I'm working in a busy neurosurgery department, I try as much as I can to make time to do wellness stuff for fellow colleagues. Why? Because I've seen that it's very important, and I hope that with the policymakers and whatnot, we would actually start to take care of our employees better, prioritize issues of wellness, and sort of find ways to incorporate it within the healthcare system itself. When we talk about the healthcare system, healthcare professionals need to be part of it. And the issues and the problems that healthcare workers experience need to be part of the agenda. And there needs to be budgets allocated to that. For this event, you need money because you can't bring people out and not feed them. You need money. It's not a big budget, but you need money. And I think institutions do have that money. You just need to know how to access that money. If anyone is interested in what I'm doing, they're more than welcome to contact me. Then I can teach you and I can show you how do you actually bring wellness into your own institution. Yeah,
Wow, that's so interesting. I even never knew that it was part of the hospital budget.
it is. It is. It is actually. It's just that, hence I say, the unit itself is sort of confined in terms of its findings, but creativity. We have a lot of creative people whom we work with, creativity and working together, and hence I say all the wellness work that I do for my hospital. Um, I don't get paid for it, but I love it. I enjoy it, and sometimes even if you work in that, you walk into that division and say to them, "Let's do this." They're open to like ideas of how do we make our unit functional because it's part of the organogram of every institution. And private does health screening every year. But where in a public hospital, have you ever worked in a hospital where they would tell you that you need to go regularly for health screening, Diane? Have you ever? No. You see, but the division is there. It exists. And that is part of the work that I think they need to be doing. It's just that when you work in private versus when you work in public, it's different. But at the end of the day, I think the systems are there. We just need to know how to make them work for the betterment of us. And of course, I cannot expect them to know how to come to our level because the problems that we experience, not necessarily that they, what can I say? It's the problems that that division is aware of. Is aware that okay, maybe that department has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 problems. This is how we can meet them. This is how we can, bring the services to them. So find the unit in your institution. It is there. Find the unit in the institution. Work with them. Try and create those platforms. Try and create this avenue so that your hospital can do great.
I think it's something that everyone should look into. But thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you for enlightening and giving me a few points to think about with regards to wellness and even just the mentorship space. So now, if anyone is keen to contact you, are you active on social media, on LinkedIn? How can the people get to know you?
Yes. So I am available. Please follow the Minority Doctors Forum. And yeah, anyone is open. It's free of charge, guys. And right now we are sort of formalizing our mentorship. That we need, as I said, specialists. We need medical officers. We need rages. We need interns. We need like medical students because what we're trying to do now is sort of form mentorship club. I'm going to give an example. If
Mm,
you are in neurosurgery or you're interested in neurosurgery as a first year medical student, Um, we formed this club where basically in a club you would have a consultant, obviously, you would have different people at different stages, where the mentorship basically, most of the time, if you're a student, it's not always that you need to speak to a subspecialty doctor. You might want to speak to them now and again, but maybe sometimes you just need a medical officer who's there just to find out how did they get there. So we're sort of building this, what is the right word? Layered mentorship
Platform.
program where we would have like formal settings, yeah, formal settings with everyone being there, of course, but with the micro, small mentorship things that people need, you're able to, as a high school student, you can reach out to a medical student. As a medical student, you can reach out to an intern. As an intern, you can reach out to a consultant. Similarly, so, but if you do need to access a consultant, you're more than welcome to do so. So right now we're still calling out people to come and give us their details if they're interested in something like this. Once again, it's a free platform. And then once this clubs are formally formalized, then they will run independently. As I said, they will run independently. And then if you're just interested in joining the general surgery club, then you can go there, learn about general surgery all the way up. Then they will run how, they would want to run their own mentorship program. So if people are interested in something similar to that, and specifically, I want to call out mentors. Because with mentorship, the tricky thing is that people have so many commitments that they don't necessarily have time, to reply to 20 messages a day from mentees. But what we're doing is formalizing it and then having regular meetings to address any other issues. But if it's urgent, of course, you will be referred to that person so you can have a one-on-one talk. So that's what we're doing now. So if anyone is interested, they're more than welcome. I will give you our email address to attach it there. They can just send us their email, send your name, send what level are you. When I say level, I mean, are you an intern or an MO? Do you want to join as a mentor or do you want to join as a mentee? Then we take it from there. And then, of course, we will continue to have the monthly talk with the different specialists. And we do record this and we will continue to share. Yeah, Minority Doctors Forum is mostly on TikTok. Yeah, so with the YouTube, we do have a YouTube channel, but it's not that active. We're working on it, guys. We're working on it. And then the other thing with the wellness thing, I'm also open to talks if you want to talk about the wellness initiative. I am available on LinkedIn. I am available on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm not that active, but I am there. Um, and then my email address is drql, my surname Ramoraswi, at gmail.com. If you just want to send in a message, you want to collaborate, or you want to talk about anything, I'm there. I'm reachable there. Yeah, and the Minority Doctors Forum as well. I'll give you the email to Minority Doctors Forum. Yeah, thanks.
I'll leave all the details for the Minority Forum and then also for your personal um, handles in the description box. So then the people will come to you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for availing time for this.
Yeah, no, thank you. This was
Okay. All right.
very enlightening, I must say. I really, really enjoyed the conversation. Anytime where we have to sit and talk about my passions and all the things that we spoke about, really, it's amazing. I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you, my dear listener. Thank you so much for tuning into Redoctoring. My name is Dr. Diane, and this is your permission to be a different kind of doctor. Bye.